Yeah, I texted him the meeting ID. I told him to join through the meeting ID. The link is not good.
Okay. Well, so okay, so just let me reply on that. Just give me a second, okay? Let me confirm it. So from Facebook, guys, can you hear me now? Okay, all right. Thank you. I'm sorry about that. The microphone was off. So actually, I'll just give a short overview of what we did just last 2-3 minutes. Okay, we just started maybe 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So let me just give a quick recap. So I'm really sorry, Facebook guys. So we have been talking about what is DevOps, and we have been talking about the history. I think many of you know this history. This culture is not something very new. It's not something very old. It's a very new culture. It's a few years. It's ages only in the industry, and it is nothing to do with tools. It is something to do with the way of doing things, right? How do we operate? How do we do the development? How do we do the operations? So all together is actually DevOps, development and operations. So some group of people may develop the app, and there should be a group of people to test it, do things, and there should be a group of people to do the operation, right? So in earlier days it was an isolated system. Now it's not isolated. So these are very closely tied team nowadays working on. So this ideology came, this principle came, this philosophy came back in 2010 somewhere there, and people started implementing it in their own system. So that's what we have been talking as of now at the beginning part of the session. So I hope you guys hasn't missed much, those who are in Facebook. So let's talk about what is DevOps. So that's what I was talking about, development teams and operation teams. Okay, there was a isolated way of doing things earlier time, but isolated operations team was a quite isolated team than development team. So it used to keep a lots of communication problem and collaboration problem and definitely integration problem. But as time proceeds, people want product fast, quick. People want things to move fast. Then they brought an idea uh, of these DevOps, development and operation. Both should go hands on hand. So they should not be feeling as enemy of each other. That people from development and people from operations team. They should be like they should have a close tie and close collaboration and close communication. So in order to achieve that, this philosophy came into the picture, which is called DevOps. So there are, if you want, I can share this slide later on, or you can read about it online everywhere. You can find it. So if we proceed ahead, if we think about a standard software development industry or software development company, and where there we have a lots of release. People are building apps. They need to release this app. So we need to really so let's say you create this app, then you go deploy this app, and then some people, they need to test this app, right? So you have people called QA or SDate. This group of people are responsible to test this app. Even the developers, they are doing their unit testing and all those part. So if we do all those manual tasks, um, when developers are creating code, they need to do unit testing. When you do unit testing, you need to really after that, once you do the unit testing, you go unit testing past, you go build that app and then deploy it to particular server. So in old days, you have done it manually. It happened manually. It didn't happen automated way in old days. But now the scenario has changed, picture has changed. You actually can't do things in that manual way, right? It is just like time consuming. It's like it kills your resources, it kills your system. So again, as part of DevOps practice, people will tell you as part of DevOps practice, so these are the principles they are talking about: values, principle, methods, practices, and tools. But again, if we divide, these are the components of these are the components, right? We can come into a few points like that: automated testing, continuous integration, continuous delivery. So what that is automated testing? So your unit testing should be automated, right? What that means, when do we process these things? This should be automatically triggered. Your other further testing should be automated. You may have UI testing, you have some other testing, you may have middle layer testing, and all the testing should be automated in order to achieve this continuous integration and continuous deployment, which is one of the major goal of DevOps lifecycle. You don't want manually to deploy all your code. You don't want manually to test your code. You don't want to do all those. You want to do all those in an automated manner. So in my experience, I have seen some part of the company, some part of the people areas, some companies still they have to do things in manually because they still can't adapt with this DevOps culture. They are struggling to adopt. They're trying to adopt, because if you have a company 30-40 years old, right, and all the tasks are manual, right, even it's a gigantic company, big company, many tasks they have lots of manual efforts. Not we don't have any CI/CD process, continuous integration and continuous deployment process. In those cases, for those companies, right, uh, for those companies it takes time. Like they have maybe 50, 60, 100, 200 apps in a company, and it definitely takes time. And there is time, there is decision making things, there are lots of things involved with this. But again, there are many companies that transformed with this culture. They transformed with this automated testing, they transformed with continuous integration, continuous delivery. So if you have a code ready, a developer creates the code and you want to put this fix in the deployment in a live system, right, you want to brought it in production, this thing has to be faster. So you just make a push in your repo and it should trigger all the process. It should do automated, it should do your unit testing, it should do your automated UI testing, API testing, and all those, right? So once you build it, you before you build your automate, your unit testing goes there, then you deploy it, and when you have your production ready application, right, then you go for further testing, which we are talking about: UI testing or API testing, even performance testing. Once you are satisfied, you go for release. That was like a old days way of doing things, right? But still you need to follow these exact steps. You can't just override these steps. But if you want to follow these other steps, you definitely have to automate it if you want to like do it by a click. So we always say something called one click process. So if you want to make a one click process, you definitely have to do so. You have no alternative. You have to automate. So that's something, a core part of DevOps culture, that automated testing. Then continuous integration, we talk about this. So if you develop a code, right, give me a second. Any question as of now, guys? Any question? No? Okay. Okay, well, so that's what we are talking about, right? Continuous integration. Developer will develop the code, right? I get my tool. That's fine. So you can see in this part, the guys, developer teams, they develops the code, and you need to build the code at some point, right? You need to package it. So if you package it, you need to test it. So this testing actually we are talking about actually unit testing maybe, and then you deploy this code here in your whatever server you want to deploy. But yes, definitely you need to do some sorts of testing over here, which is maybe as I said, API testing or front-end testing, some other testing. Then only you are satisfied, you release it to your you release it, right? So this process you'd like to automate it. You'd like to do everything at one go, so that if you have, like, let's say a company like Amazon, right, company like Google, they have maybe I if you Google, you will find out how many production changes they go every day. There is an average number. It might be few hundreds. You can't do all those changes manually. It's a disaster, right? To deploy this many changes in a real system, it's a disaster. System like Google, system like Amazon.com, it's a disaster, right? These are the companies you can see are big. There are many companies, they are more big, not they are similarly in business terms, they're similarly important. They have also $1 billion product. They don't want to take risk with those products. If they hold the product for 2 hours release, it costs them money. If you can't fix a bug quickly, and you have fixed the bug, now you are waiting for deployment 6 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours. It's a waste of time and a waste of money. You want to make this process automated, right? That's what we are talking about, continuous integration. We are talking about continuous I just copied the same thing twice. So you are talking about continuous integration over here, right? So let me just go to next slide. So again, any question as of now, guys? No question, right? Okay, so what's that in chat box? Oh, well, so this is another fancy way of showing things. We are talking about our code, and there's a code change. You make a commit, right? It goes for a build. It goes for unit testing, integration testing. Those may include many things, right? Like as many of you are already, I believe most of you are experienced here, so you have understanding on the testing part. So this integration testing means a lot. It's not only your UI testing, it could be API testing, it could be even performance testing, it could be some sorts of stress testing, load testing, some sorts of volume testing. So it is a numerous amount of testing. Depends on your product, what type of product you are actually working on. Are you working on a product, a very light one, or you are working on a very heavy product of handling millions of data, maybe millions of customers, or don't know. Depending on your situations, your circumstance, you go with this part before you go further, right? Even you want to go for production, you definitely go for review. So again, this could be a code review. This should have done maybe earlier in this phase. When you code commit, you should have a code review before that. But again, this could be a review of your system, this could be review of your product, right? Then it goes staging or some other and a second environment, then you go for production. So your system is up and running live. So if you look at this fancy diagram, definitely not made by me. The diagram is collected from the internet. Okay, so Google is my helper. So if you look into this fancy thing need to be automated. And this is not a simple steps. It's not a simple way of doing things. It's not like just write 10 lines of code and it will happen. Definitely it is not like that. There are lots of moving parts. There are lots of complex part. There are lots of things you need to think about, and you just can't do it overnight. You need a proper planning, you need to have a proper resource. In terms of resource, definitely you need to have a proper tools, right? And you need to have a proper and second resource is human beings, skilled people to do those, because it's require a particular skill set, right? In order to achieve this, whatever you can see over here, it's require really tremendous amount of resources, skilled resources. If you don't have skilled resources, you struggle, your company will struggle definitely, right? So having skilled resources is something very important. That's why people need someone called DevOps engineer, right? If we don't have a DevOps engineer, the problem is here, right? These people are more oriented with all these moving parts. They want to connect all these moving parts, and they want to come up with a product, right? With a solution. So it is something, you are someone who play with the code and you try to give life to the code. That's how I do say. When a developer creates the code, writes the code, this code does not have any life. It's a plain text, right? But as a DevOps engineer, your job is to bring life in, is to give life into that, because a simple text code, right? A code written in a text pad or in a maybe IDE, whatever you tell, it has logics, it has everything. But unless it goes to server, unless you deploy it to the system, it has no meaning, right? It is absolutely a negative meaning, right? So being a DevOps engineer, it's your job to do it, whether you do it manually, whether you do it in an automated manner, right? So if we talk about a DevOps centric environment, we would like to make the process automated instead of doing things manually, right? So it's require close collaboration with all these parties, right? With all these parties, there will be party who will be testing, there will be party those who will be writing the code, right? The application code we are talking about. Any question? No question? Okay. Okay, someone asked what is this related code. So we are actually talking about sorry, I'm really sorry, I'm not actually explaining from that point of view, because I understand that so we are talking about the application code. Someone creates an app, right? So that app is actually the code, right? It's nothing but a code, programming languages, right? Okay, Salam Abdi, you came to see me, right? Thank you. It has been long time. Yeah, I'm also following the trend. Maybe. So again, it took me a long time. And thank you for popping up. And it's from far, right? Is morning in your area or night? I don't know in Malaysia. It should be early morning. So thank you for joining. So well, so these are the key things we are actually talking about. Let's say we are talking about what are the components is related to this. So for version controlling, we need to use something. So in this case, mostly wide area of wide spectrum of this industry, we use especially Git as a version controlling system. But as a cloud service, you may use many things. Maybe Bitbucket, maybe GitHub, maybe I don't know, GitLab, many things. So there are related tools. In order to achieve this goal, we need to be efficient enough to many related tools as well, some scripted language, which is important for a DevOps engineer. And one of the core things I always feel, it might not be it is very important for someone to have a very good understanding in development process. Then you may enjoy your work. Otherwise it will be hard to enjoy your DevOps work. It is tiring, it is it has tremendous amount of pressure, but you will enjoy only if you feel what is happening around you 100%. If you don't feel, it will be tough for you to continue. So these are the key areas they are talking about, tools and things like that. um, so we will not be going here. So these are the small things I already spoke about: plan, write a code, build a test, release and deploy. And this is something important part I hasn't spoke about, which is operate and monitor, right? um, once you have your once you have your system up and running, this should be monitored. And as part of DevOps engineer, you must be efficient enough with those monitoring mechanism as well. You should be able to know how to achieve this monitoring goal, because you may have an environment which is unmonitored, but it is a very fantastic environment. It may go off at middle of night and you are sleeping, your whole team is sleeping, and it is maybe $1 million product. 10 minutes downtime may cost $1 million for your enterprise, for your company, which is a huge, right? You can't do that. You need to have a very efficient monitoring mechanism. And you are DevOps engineer, in most of the cases you will be responsible for that, but there are many companies, they have a specialized team, those who does monitoring part. So it depends where you will be ending up. If you end up with a that sorts of company where you have like a team doing monitoring, you may not be actively monitor, or you may not have to actively configure your monitoring system, but many a cases you may have to do it. So you need to be, you need to be efficient enough in monitoring. It includes configuring monitoring system, it includes monitoring the system both. So again, to all the steps we are talking about here, right, it all relates different types of skill set. You can't do all of them by one means. There are lots of moving parts, there are lots of tools related with that, and you need to gain particular expertise on that if you want to claim yourself as a efficient skilled DevOps engineer. If you want to survive in the profession, if you want to lead in the profession, you really need to have that, right? So any question as of now online? No question, right? Cool. So let's move to next. So this is actually I was talking about, now it's in the big picture continuous delivery we are talking about. So this continuous delivery, if you look into very carefully, that CI/CD we always talk about, continuous delivery and continuous deployment, this is all about it. Let me take my nice pen. Okay, don't worry. So I should get my pen. Okay, well, so it will be a small screen. So if you look into this, um, that's your coding part. Devs are doing that. Unit testing done. Everything is automated. Your code will come to the repo and you will get end product until here. In this case, you have some interruption. You need to have a manual investigation. So you don't want this full process to be automated. You want someone to come and check what's going on, right? Then allow to go it into the production, right? So then you deploy to production. So this process, sometimes people will say continuous delivery, then there is something called deployment, continuous deployment. You just don't want to come until here, until testing. You make sure the product goes until production in an automated manner. What that means, one click process. You push the code in your repo, it should travel all the way along for unit testing, It should go for integration testing, which is a couple of types of testing you have, right? And then it should go for acceptance testing, and then it should be deployed. So all this process should be automated. So you don't wait for people to grab things from one server to other, one place to other. No. But if you look into this, these are actually multiple environment involved, a numerous amount of configurations involved. That's you, DevOps engineer. That's your job, to make sure this thing works, make sure these things are operational. Any question? Okay, well, so no question. Okay, now you may ask the question how the DevOps accomplish all this, right? Whatever we have been talking about. How do they do it? Are they like super genius people? Are they have miracle in their hand? Definitely not. Definitely not. They gain certain skill set and then they go for implementation. That's it. No tricks. Nothing like it's not a rocket science. But you need to understand few things. You need to gain some skills, which includes learning many types of tools, which includes learning couple of scripting languages, which includes having good understanding on version controlling, which includes having good understanding on production system, and like maybe sometimes Linux, sometimes Windows system. Mostly 80-85% you may find Linux system, but there are companies you may have to handle Windows system as well. So then again, there are automation tools. We say in we talk about some automation tool in we actually say is in, you have heard maybe this terminology which is called infrastructure as code, IaaC. So if you search for IaaC, which is called infrastructure as code, what that means in a simple, if you have let's say a company like Amazon, right? I don't know how many servers they have. They may have hundreds, right? In your company you may have for your app maybe 10-20 servers, 5 servers, depends how big your app is. If you want to provision all those servers by your own hand, it may take you maybe 10 hours or 5 hours if you configure everything from the scratch and do everything by your own. But if you write a line of code and you execute that code and your 5 servers are ready with a proper configuration, is not it more good? Is not it more better? That's actually named as infrastructure as code. Now this can be achieved in various ways. One of the way, so it can be achieved in various way. When I say one of the way, it means one of the way is like learning few tools, using some tools, which includes maybe Shape, Puppet, SaltStack, Ansible, things like that, this type of tools. So this helps you to again, within these tools, you don't only, it is not only tools, you have to write some scripts, you have to write some playbooks, things like that, in order to achieve that. Now again, if you come to like a cloud computing environment like AWS, like GCP or Azure, all of them has some service called infrastructure as code. Those services, like for AWS there is something called CloudFormation. You use those to provision your resources. So you may have a complex pipeline. You don't want to do it manually every day. You want to automate the process. So you write a piece of code and you automate those infrastructures using this code. So as a DevOps engineer, your one of the key role is to understand that, is to know that, because most of the places they will have a similar requirement, and you need to achieve, you need to gain those requirements if you don't have. So monitoring, learning about infrastructure as code, learning about build process, learning about different type of servers, learning about Linux, learning about scripting, all this comes in a place. So these are I won't say it's a lot of things. I would say there are lots of moving parts you really need to take in your brain, right? So this is a typical environment we always see: QA, technology operations, development, software engineers, developers, and all of them between we have someone called DevOps, right? Very closely tied. These are the people. In order to achieve a good product, good result, they are very closely tied. No, not necessarily, Imran Hussain. You really don't have to, So it is not something rocket science to to learn how to handle those code, how to package those code, because whatever the complex algorithm you have, according to the framework, your deployment process will be same. It will follow almost similar principles. So you become a DevOps engineer and you are handling some Ruby on Rails application or maybe a Python application, but you don't have knowledge on that two application code. It is not a big deal, but it is a deal. It is my perspective. So many people, other people may have different perspective. In my understanding, you should be capable enough to read this. You should be capable enough to understand the build process for those apps, right? For those programming languages or for those frameworks. If you don't understand build process of those programming languages, you actually end up with a disaster, right? Your brain will not work. You will not be able to think. So it is important, but not in a level of that. You don't have to be a Ruby on Rail specialist on algorithms. No. So it depends which language you would like to write. It depends where you are, okay? It depends which infrastructure you are using. So let's say in a typical environment, you may have to write some scripts in Python. You may have to write some script in some bash programming. You may have to write some script in PowerShell. These are various things. So there's something sometimes interesting. For some people it is frustrating because it's a lot of stuff. But if you have a solid understanding at least in one programming language, picking up those is very easy. I would say it's very easy. So, well, the good thing is that people don't have question. That's very good thing. I think there are 15 people in GoToMeeting, and yeah, Facebook definitely there will be less people um, because I'm not. Oh well, so let's move ahead. If you don't have any question, I'll go into course contents later. One second. So I'll come back to course contents later, okay? So one of the core component of present DevOps engineering role is to work with or handle some form of cloud computing environment. So almost any company you jump into, you will find these things. You will find some sorts of cloud computing is available in those companies. So you will have to work with maybe AWS, maybe Azure, or maybe IBM, maybe Google. AWS has the highest amount of market share. Okay, it's the biggest amount of market share they have. This pie chart may not be 100% accurate, but it gives a understanding that how big the market share AWS owns. So as a first choice of learning a cloud computing system, if you are not in a company where the company required you to learn something, if you are not in that scenario, your choice should, in my opinion, it should be AWS, because opportunities are higher. Many companies are using, so the requirements are higher. So then when you talk about AWS, like there is a way of doing things, right? There is a way of you can learn it by your own. Or okay, let me one thing very clear as I came until here. All these materials can be learned by your own. You can achieve this goal by your own. if you have some sorts of experience and programming, if you would have some sorts of knowledge in the industry, you can achieve it. But not all of us are motivated enough to achieve the goal. We may need people's assistance, right? So in that scenario, when it comes to second scenario, you may need people assistance, then maybe you end up with people like Jahidul or people, some other better people in the industry, right? There are many people teaching around New York City, around New York, or around United States. So you can jump into any of those programs. You can get someone's direct guidance, right, which may help you, which may allow you to really gain your goal. But definitely you can achieve it by your own. At some point of the session, I will show you some free resources you can use to learn by your own. But one thing is like important here, you need to assess your situation, whether are you a person to get all these by your own, or you would like to have someone's assistance, right? If you determine that you are someone who can achieve it by your own, you definitely should not waste your money to people like me, right? You can go to those free, it's not free, that will be cheaper options, right? Those online courses, you can learn self-paced, and you can go on and on, right? So if I forget at some point of this presentation, remind me to show you all those free resources we have within this system, in the internet. Okay, so at this point I'll try to explain you about the certification path in AWS. So AWS has around 2-3 types of certification. You can see foundation, you can give me a second. So you can see something called foundational. You don't need it. If you are a tech guy, you don't need it. It is for someone who don't have knowledge and technology. It is for business people. It is for people, those who those who may be a business related, maybe BA or maybe some other positions, but they still need to have some fair understanding on AWS and its services, especially like how it works, what is this, how the billings happen, how the reporting happens, like very high level things, nothing technical. So that comes in foundational, which is not for you definitely. Then you have something called associate level questions. Associate level, they will ask you for 1 year experience, but it is not necessary that you need 1 year experience. You can definitely still jump into these other certifications after having a proper preparation. These are not easy exams. It takes time and effort to learn. You may pass through this exam by some means. I don't know what is that means exactly, but if you want to learn, it is a tough journey. You need to invest your time. You can learn, maybe you may memorize something, but it will not give you any benefit, and there will be very less chance you will overcome that exams. So important thing is that you learn, and these are the professional level exams. So being a DevOps engineer, your goal will be like looking for this one at the end of the day, but you need to start from here, maybe a developer associate, solution architect, or SysOp admin. So this is something always people start with solution architect, but somehow I always insist people to go with developer associate first. It helps you to understand development more. Not development in a sense, it helps you to know things more. Yes, solution architect, there are different contents, there are different things, but this is more heavy loaded. This is little bit light loaded. So once you are done with this, it becomes more easy. But yes, you can do vice versa, both are same level. And it is not necessary that you have to do all of them before you jump to professional. If you assume that you are someone already expert, you have already good knowledge, you can jump into these professional exams. That's it. No issues. But these exams are 3 hours exam. 3 hours, around 75 problems. Each problem may need 2 minutes to read only, or 3 minutes to read only, maybe 10 lines, with 5 or 6 services within that, and they will ask you for some solution. So If you are someone who likes to understand the architecture, if you are someone who likes to think about all those moving parts, if you are someone who is more focused on architecture of application, this is something interesting for you. Again, if you are a developer, you need it. You need it. It's not like it's a fun. If you are a developer in an environment where there are AWS is main, they force you to get the certification done, right? If you are someone solution architect, or if you are maybe DevOps engineer, it becomes a very basic requirement. You should have it, right? So what happens when, as a fresher or as a maybe experienced QA engineer, if you want to move into DevOps engineering, it is better to have this certification done. It helps you in two ways. One way is it allows you to learn more things by your own when you start investigating, because as I said, it's a lots of study you need to do, right? And second thing is it puts value in your resume. It puts a good value in your resume. People can trust that, okay, this person really understands something, because people know these are the exams are tough. These are the exams takes little bit hardship to gain. So yes, this is all about certification, and there are specialty. I don't believe you don't have to focus on this. Going forward in future, maybe if you become a sysadmin or something like that, you may think about security certification. This is a specialty. So depending on your area of expertise, so maybe you are developer, you think about getting expertise on big data, so you may have some big data certification. You may have an advanced networking certification, machine learning certification, Alexa skill builder certification. These are few. There are more specialty certification. These are more focused on services. Any question on certification?
Hey, what is a Alexa skill builder?
So, do you know Alexa, Amazon Alexa?
Yes.
Right. So if when you call him, he does lots of work for you, right? When you use Alexa, right? So it does many things for you, right? Turning off lights, turning on lights, do things, do that, right? Lots of operations it does, right? You may have it in your car, you may have it here and there. So this is not happening automatic, right? So you can build your own Alexa. Let's say we can build a skill, like today we have a session, right? We have a note. So we can do we can take this note. So let's say in a future you want to read it as a audio system, or like as a recorded video audio, right? But you want your Alexa to play it. You want your Alexa, you want to use your Alexa to do it. So in order to build that skill within this Alexa system, you really need to know how to handle that Alexa, right? How to write those steps, how to write those codes and things like that. So this is more focused on the service called Amazon Alexa. If you are a developer, Alexa developer, you build lots of skills in Alexa, you are maybe someone who need to go into for that course. If that answers your question. Okay, all right, thank you. So yeah, there are more specialty certification, but none of them, as a beginner, as a fresher, is a fresher in a sense, as a fresher in a cloud computing, you might be experienced one, right? It is not something you don't have to look into a specialty. Any question on certification? No. Okay, cool. Let's move. So let's go back now a little bit. So let me tell you the contents. What do I teach? Whatever I said as of now, most of the things I need to cover in this curriculum, because at the end of the day we want you to go to the market and claim yourself as a DevOps engineer. You want to go to your manager and say, hey look, Mr. Manager, it has been enough. I have been working as a QA. I would like to switch my position. I would like to join as a DevOps engineer. So you can make a inter-department shift. If you want to freshly apply as a DevOps engineer, still you can do it, right? With all those skills, with the certification in hand, and you have both. You have certification, you have a skill, and you should be able to find a good job, right? So in order to prepare you in that level, we try to give you at least some level of expertise on that. So we start with DevOps introductions and DevOps perspective in different like cases on-prem or AWS systems, some intro things over there. Then we go with some Linux things. We try to understand the structures and things like that, and then few commands and things like that. And then we go for networking fundamentals. We try to understand some networking fundamentals is important to understand, because at the end of the day you have to handle some IP addresses, you have to create some subnets, you do have to provision some VPCs, things like that. When you work with AWS or any other cloud computing system, you have to manage your own network, so you need some sorts of understanding. Then these are the like many of my like usually you should know Git, but we need to at least cover within the course. But one of the main part of the course is going over numerous AWS services. So we try to go over numerous AWS services. This is a big goal. Having a target of solution architect and developer associate within the same course is a large goal. But in my understanding, if I can prepare you for developer associate certification, it's require minimum effort for me to prepare you for solution architect associate. So in one preparation, we would like to achieve two, if I say in that way, right? But it's require hard work. From my side, definitely from candidate side. It's require tremendous hard work. By this time you have already understood. It's not something like you walk in, you start, you want to do it and you achieve it. It doesn't work that way, to be very, very honest. So I'm not talking about other services within AWS. We talk about numerous amount of services. We talk about serverless architectures. We talk about we talk about some other serverless stuff, some other services, data migration stuff, batch stuff, few more intensive stuff, which is few more really important stuff within the services we'll be going over. So I'm not going into deep details on those, and there will be fundamental things I didn't speak, which is containerization. So you will have to actually get some knowledge on containerization. So in that case, you will be learning some containerization like some Docker compose. You will have some fair understanding on Docker. You'll be using some sorts of ECS, means AWS services of Docker, things like that. I was talking about Ansible, and then this is infrastructure as automation, infrastructure as a code. Then you definitely do CloudFormation, which is within AWS. It is not written here. And you will have, if you have a background on any programming language, it will be easy for you to pick up. These are the scripting languages. We'll be doing Python scripting, PowerShell scripting, and this is not scripting, but just I kept it here. You have to work with some YML, some JSON formats and things like that. Then something within Jenkins, and again, it is not only Jenkins about CI/CD. There are more stuff within AWS. We have to gain those for the purpose of two. One of the purpose is for your skill, second is for your exam. And then interview prep, we'll be trying to guide you through interview prep, and necessarily if you need to go into market and get assistance, we'll be helping you, preparing you for interviews. And complete guideline to get AWS certification, which is a major goal, I would say, which is a big goal of this course. And I was talking about monitoring. One of the monitoring tool we'll be going over is CloudWatch, and maybe New Relic if time permits. So these are all high-level course contents. These are not in-depth course contents, but overall we need to cover automation, monitoring, and scripting, and we will do so, hopefully. Any question? Any question? No question? Online, no question, right? Which is good. Someone just texted. I'm looking into that text or comment. Give me a second. Okay, so here you go. Okay, well, so if you don't have, what is the advantage for a QA to go for the course? Okay, so if you are, it's a good question. If you are a QA engineer, right, you just don't want to be a person who don't have a 360-degree understanding, who just understand his own part. If you want to be an efficient one, if you want to advance your career, if you want to become a QA manager, you really need to have a good understanding in this full process in terms of deployment, full process in terms of development. So if you get a clear, because if you go, let's say, whichever company you are working on, you may have a cloud computing environment. There is a high degree of chance that you have cloud computing environment. And as a QA, if you have a clear and distinct understanding on that, you can do your work more efficiently. And it is always good as a QA to have a clear picture of your system. Now in your team, people are talking about some services, some functions, here is code, here is this, here, this is how it is architected. Nothing will go in your brain because you have no understanding on the infrastructure side. But you are someone who is testing this application, you are someone who is doing performance testing, you are someone who is doing API testing. Yes, definitely you can do your job and you are definitely doing your job. But we are talking about advancing your career. We are talking about making yourself more skilled. We are not just hoping that you will be remaining someone like having less understanding of the environment where you are, right? So is that answer your question, Shakar? Is it the next step usually for a QA to go for a DevOps course or something else? No, this is not. Answer to the question is no. So Shakar asked that is it the next step usually for a QA to go for a DevOps course or something else? No, no. I do train two things, right? As many of you know, I do train people as a QA engineers as well for DevOps engineering. But um, I do claim myself as a career mentor. I don't claim myself something else, right? So I just can't lie with you. It is not true. If you have very good interest on development, right? You want to really build an app by your own hand. You want to code. You are more interested in algorithms and things like that. You will not come to DevOps team. You'll think about proceeding towards development. But you need to understand one thing. It is not always about money. It is always about your interest. Maybe as a QA you are earning more higher money than maybe a junior DevOps engineer at this point of time, or maybe a similar money you are earning. But if you look into a DevOps future is different than a QA future. QA future has a ceiling. The ceiling of DevOps engineer is little higher than a QA. Okay, so obviously all the positions has ceiling, means you know how far you can reach. So if you are in the technology world, you should be more equipped, you should be more skilled, and you should be ready for future. You should not think today you may have job, tomorrow you may not have job. And if you want to claim yourself more skilled, how do yourself you will claim? You know few testing tools, you know few testing framework, but what else do you know, right? What are the options do you have? See the situation in market now. I know there are persons, I still have job, that's a good news. I may not have job tomorrow, right? You may not have job tomorrow. And then what next? How do you will be distinctly visible to your recruiters, to the employers, that you are highly skilled than some other QA engineers, right? that's having more skills. This is one way to proceed. There could be multiple way of proceeding. uh, there will be multiple paths, so but this is one of the path I do know, I do prefer, right? But there are, yes, you can go developer, you can do a complete change. Sometimes people don't like all those tech things, they become a project manager. There are people like that. And I know there are people, they became project manager, after a few years they realized they did mistake. Because being a technical guy, when you go for a non-technical position, you feel frustrated at some point. At some point you like it, but at some point you feel frustrated because you are a person whose brain, you are a tech guy, you are thinking about technology always, you are a technical guy, right? Is the job market want certain year experience, or those certifications help for a fresher? Definitely this certification helps a fresher. Definitely this certifications helps a fresher. Now depends. If you want to get if you want to hit a very good number of salaries, you may need experience. But if you want to remain with a healthy amount, still it is healthy amount of money. But having those certification shows is a distinct proof that you have expertise. It's a good question. Search in Google, okay? What's the salary level of a beginner? What I don't talk in any session, in any conversation, I don't talk about salary. Why I don't talk? I have a reason with me. The reason is, it is not about money. It is about your passion. Do you really like it? Definitely you can search in internet how much people get as a DevOps engineer. Google is very nice tool, a very friendly tool. He will help you to answer this question, Mr. Sharkar. And you are smart, you guys are smart enough to find those answers. You have friends, you have many people, but as a mentor, as a trainer, I don't like to say about salaries. I want people to be motivated for a certain position. People should understand that this is a career path which I want to choose. It's not a one-day goal. It's not like you go a grocery shop and you work two weeks and 1 month, 2 months after that. Oh, I don't like grocery shop. Let me go to Messi and apply to Messi and work for Messi or maybe Walmart. I don't like small grocery shops. So it is not like that. It is your career. It is your goal, and you will be surviving by doing it, right? What is the suitable, comfortable field for a QA to go through career development? A software developer or DevOps? Or as that in past year? Okay, Taki. So it's a good question, but you have been I think you know me very well. So I will never tell that you should go for this or you should go for that. As a career mentor, as a career guide, I will tell you which position will offer you what, right? DevOps engineer offer you this. I have been talking 1 hour, right? What is this? I can really tell you more. What developer offers you? That offers you something else as well. SDET is almost the same position as a QA automation engineer. There is no day and night difference between a SDET position and a QA position. Even there are no day and night difference between the salaries you will get as a QA automation engineer. You may get a QA automation engineer, you may get a higher salary than SDET, depend on companies, right? So that doesn't, you are already SDET. Maybe your QA automation engineer, you hasn't joined as SDET. Okay, Mr. Tofal, I got you. So yeah, so it's almost, your friends also joined as SDET, right? You have few friends, those who works as SDET, but you know what they're doing, exactly same thing what you do, not something, maybe 5%, 2%, 3% difference, maybe, or 10%, let's say, but it's not like a day and night difference. But again, DevOps is a role, is a position where you have tremendous work, that's true, but your future also should be better. Option is you have more chances because you equip yourself with lots of things. Now if you become a developer, your path, you need to determine your path, which way you want to. Do you want to go a front-end developer, you want to become a back-end developer, you want to become a full stack developer? So you can choose your own path, right? Depending on what do you really like. as a if you ask me, I know operation is tiring. Sometimes I do work a long hours in this position, um, but again it is sometimes very interesting. If you want to be a solution architect, if you want to give a solution to people, right? Okay, so let's say a group, let me give you one example before I answer your this question. So let's say if you are a person, you give a solution to others, to your team members, that okay, hey, this is what problem you have, and this is how you can configure your system, these are the services you can use in order to achieve the goal you want to you want to achieve. This is something not very funny, it is serious, right? It is serious and it is interesting. So depends, various people, depending on individual people, right? You have individual taste, you have individual interest. If on the other hand, if you want to become a developer, you have more options, you have many chances, you have many things to do, right? You can focus on something, you can keep doing these things. It actually depends upon your personal taste. Or you can remain as a QA forever. Who cares? There are people I have seen 32 years QA engineer, 18 years QA engineer, 20 years QA engineer, 10 years QA engineer. They are living their life, right? It depends on your taste. What do you want? Do you want to take some risk? Do you want to achieve more? Do you want to go for some higher ceiling? Because you will look for after 5 years where you want to be, right? Okay, Farjad. SDET is same as QA engineer depending on company, however they call it. Correct. Farjad is SDET. Farjad, am I correct, Farjad? Okay, tell your friends, okay? Your good friends. They must be with you in your connection, right? Yeah, tell them. I think it was the file. Okay, well, any I will teach them. Yeah, sure. You will teach them further. Please teach them well. Okay, so any more question, guys? Sorry, in Facebook maybe there is questions. I don't know. Any question? Sorry, I didn't notice this comments in Facebook. 1 second. So okay, well. So and one more thing, like here, let me, if you don't have any question, let me go over some few more steps and then we'll be fine. This we have spoken about it. So outcome of the course, right? What you will be? You will be fully loaded for AWS Developer Associate exam. You'll be fully loaded for AWS Solution Architect Associate exam. What that means? You should be fully prepared for this exam at the end of the course. So the way I do try to plan before that, little ahead. But yes, you'll be fully loaded with this. Then ready to make a move toward DevOps tool. Get to know the world of cloud and DevOps culture. That's what this will be online. And these are the basic course info. As of now, we have some deadline in July 2nd. We will be starting, because of June I have another batch to start in QA, so I will be delaying 15 days for this batch. So usually I take classes at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and Thursday and Tuesday and Thursday. So after, in the working day, I don't spoil your weekends. I'm very I don't want to spoil your weekends, so, and as well mine. So yes, and before I finish, I would like to, you may have a question, like I know there are some guys joined from Bangladesh, some guys out of United States. So one thing for you guys, and at the same time for the guys over here in United States. So as a QA engineer or as a DevOps engineer, you are not actually limited to work only for the employers directly. You can work for freelancing company. You can work as a consultant in there are many freelancing sites. You can go, you can get job there. There are lots of job. If you go to DevOps job in Fiverr. Fiverr is one of the popular one. Is this Fiverr or something like that? Yeah. So you will see there are jobs people are looking for, and there are, like, if you limit, so if you are in United States, your charges are different. So I hasn't filtered it, but if you are outside United States, you may have to charge little less. So these are the people are claiming that they will do some activities with DevOps. I will provide complete automation to companies, $30 an hour. So if you are someone from outside United States, if these are the this is not making a logo, or this is not doing some other tasks. These are very, very skilled work. If you can gain this expertise over the years, these are the companies, these are the freelancing works are there wherever you are in the globe. So gaining expertise is same, but depending on your geographical location, definitely the money will differ, right? A person staying in back home, the cost of living is not same a person living in the United States or North America, right? It's a different living cost, so the salaries will be different. So if you just look for US jobs, you will find that these people are charging like $80, $90, $70, or $100 an hour are DevOps engineers. So it is a quite if you can gain that expertise over the time, so you should have a plan in your life, right? It's not like you plan for one day, you plan for few years, right? You just don't want to remain where you are, you want to proceed, you want to do something, right? So these are the job opportunities you have. You can go to freelancing, you can go for you can work as usual what you do in North America, go for a certain employers. So there is nothing to be frustrated. If you are in outside United States, you still have an options. Open source market are open, right? Freelancing markets are open. All you need to have that expertise in your hand before you claim those jobs. If you don't get that expertise over 6 months, over 1 year, you actually can't claim it. But if you once can gain it, you can claim those jobs. No one is stopping you, right? We always say that, okay, now Bangladesh is the second largest freelancing market in the world, right? But there are not too many people are doing very high skilled job, right? There are not so many people. There are people, definitely, I do respect their work, and there are many people working hard. I know many people over there, those who are working for as a freelancing engineers, as other engineers, but still these positions is having crisis around the globe, because these are the expertise. Every day is changing, every day technology is revolving. So having this skill set is asset for you today and future. I think I'm almost done. Any last question you have? No, no last question. So these are the course informations what you have. Same I have in the Facebook page. You can go to event section, you will find in the events. And I will try to hold a session in next weekend. That will be a technical session. We'll be doing some fundamental cloud computing stuff. So if you are interested, you can join and you can sign up for that event. That will be at the same time on the Friday. If you go event section, you can sign up, you can show your interest, and you will be able to join the session. Okay, same way I'll give you GoToMeeting session as well as Facebook session. So that's where this one actually online session on DevOps, no, not this one, cloud computing 101. So it will be a fundamental cloud computing stuff, which includes, like, especially I'll be looking into, I'll be showing you some, giving you some basic understanding on AWS infrastructures by 1 hour, whatever I can. So if you're, that is a absolutely technical session, absolutely session, nothing related to course. So if you are interested, if you come join with us, it will be nice. Okay, So I have no more words to tell you. If you don't have any question, we will drop down. This is how you can contact with us. You can go to Facebook page, you can send text, you can book some time if you want to talk. You can shoot an email in this email address, info@izaan.io, and this is our website. You can visit this if you want. And that's it. Spread the good. That's what request I have to all of you. And let me know if you are interested, if you want to start learning with gentleman Jahidul. Even he is not gentleman, but sometimes he claim himself as gentleman. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Have a wonderful rest of the day.